Peace and blessings, and welcome back to the Heritage Hip Hop Interview. Sometimes we make it a podcast, sometimes we don't. But today I have somebody very special on, and if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button right now. Do not wait. Please do not wait. Today, this is very special. This is very honored, and this is someone who's been on Heritage Hip Hop before, and if you know and follow her, you know she brings a lot of knowledge to her videos, not just a bunch of news. Introduce yourself to the people, please.
Peace and blessing. I'm Naqueen Zaire.
And that's it. All right, so.
Right.
Well, today we brought you on Heritage Hip Hop because you have been on TikTok giving people a lot of lessons about finances, rights, and beating a system designed to beat them. Why don't you talk about that? Let us know what it is you're doing.
All right.
Shout out to the cat behind you, by the way.
Right, and I'm allergic to her. She dying to get on my lap. Yeah, so basically what I teach is how to defeat debt collectors. You know, defeating the debt collectors. Because everything in the United States are debt collectors. When you get a bill, whether you get a ticket, no matter what it is, they are debt collectors attempting to collect the debt. So when we thought we were in a government of the United States of America, in 1925, on July 23rd, the United States incorporated. So the U.S. is actually different than the USA or U.S. of A, right? So you know we knew that we were the states in the Union. So now when you use those two letters, like NJ as opposed to New Jersey, when you do NJ, that's part of the corporation. PA is part of the corporation. That's how you know that it's separate from the actual state. So, yeah, that's basically it.
See, the thing about law is they'll hold you accountable to it, but they change the laws all the time. That's the hardest thing for a person to understand. So when you talk about beating debt, I'm sure people fight you, and they just try to say you don't know what you're talking about. Am I correct?
All the time.
Tell me about something simple that people could know that they don't, that they fight you about all the time.
So, something simple. Okay, so if you look at 15 USC, this is about regular debt collectors. If you look at 15 USC 1691, it says prohibited. What is the scope of scope of prohibitions, something like that. It's what's prohibited. And if you look, it tells you that adverse actions are prohibited. And then if you look at 12 CR, so this is the crazy thing. In the government, like he said, there's so many laws. They have so many different titles, so many different codes and statutes. So if you go to one title, that title is going to lead you to a chapter. That chapter is going to lead you to a subchapter. That subchapter is then going to lead you to different subheadings. Like, it's crazy. Like, you'll be going, like, what they call it, into a rabbit hole. But they repeat themselves very often. If you're looking for the cat, she right here. So they repeat themselves very often. So 15 USC and 12 USC, 12 is banking. 12 USC is banking. 12 CFR goes to debts, like 15 USC. So it's real tricky, right? So I always go back and forth because 12 CFR will say something about adverse actions in more details. So according to 12 CFR 1026, let me make sure. Got my handy dandy notebook like Blue's Clues.
All right. Shout out to people who study to stay approved.
Right. All right. So the problem is, I can't see without my glasses on. I'm right here. So 1026. So 12 CFR 1026.13D is adverse actions, right? But we're going to read it. So it says adverse credit reports prohibited. The creditor or its agent shall not directly or indirectly make or threaten to make an adverse report to any person about the consumer's credit standing, or report that an amount or account is delinquent because the consumer failed to pay the disputed amount or related finance or other charges.
So that means somebody should not be contacting you about any money that you're owed.
No, that means they should not be putting it on your credit report.
Oh.
They cannot report on your credit any inaccuracies, right? She is dying to get on my. She gonna be the star of the show. She's dying to get on my lap. So yeah, so it's actually unlawful. So if it's in the laws and saying it's prohibited, then it's unlawful. Yet they do it all the time, right? So I get mad trolls, which I know has to be government agents of some sort, right? They'll say, I had one just come on my page and say, she don't know what she talking about. She gonna give it to you now and then charge you $2,000. I said, and then the lady respect because he actually answered somebody's question. I saw it mad late, and the lady was like, "Oh, okay, thank you." I was like, first of all, I give it away for free. So on my website, I have an A for V, which is basically accepted for value, which is a whole different thing, which we didn't get into that yet. So yeah.
All right, so credit reports and debt collecting is something that America is built on. Because it seems like if you don't have any debt, you're not American.
Right.
And it seems like, for instance, when it comes to people who are considered illegals, they can't collect money off of them, so that's why they're illegal.
Right.
Is that a fact?
Definitely.
Okay, so the pipeline of American dollars is funded through poverty and ignorance. Am I correct?
Right.
What can people do to come out of that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. First, let's change the word American dollars because there is no money, right? So, when I was talking about how they incorporated in 1933, FDR passed an Emergency Banking Act. And in the Emergency Banking Act, they confiscated all the gold. It was actually unlawful to have gold, right? So what happened was they closed all the banks so that you couldn't go run and get your money, well, your gold, because when we were using gold, gold was heavy. So what you would do was deposit your gold into the bank. The bank would then give you a receipt for that amount of gold. So say you had $100 worth of gold, you would have a $100 receipt. So then if you were going to purchase something, you would say, look, I have $100 in the bank, $100 worth of gold in the bank. If you want to get $20 for this cow, I'm just using an example, then you would say, well, here, I'm going to give you a note saying you get $20 of my gold for the cow. So now they're passing around notes. So then the government said, oh, okay, we're going to confiscate the gold and have because the United States actually had their own notes as well. And those were backed by the gold. So they said, we're going to change the monetary system, take all the gold, and then pass on these FRNs, these Federal Reserve Notes. So Federal Reserve Notes are actually IOUs. So if you got a $20 bill and you think you have $20 cash and you really have $20 worth of IOUs, you then passing that IOU on to the next person. So if you go buy something at the store, you basically telling them, I'll pay you. It's a deferred payment. I'll pay you later, right? So it's debt getting passed on to debt, getting passed on to debt. So everything is debt and credit. You're doing it based off your credit because the United States under 12 U.S.C. 411 said that all obligations belong to the United States. Then they repeated themselves. Remember I said they always repeating themselves. In 18 U.S.C. 8, which is criminal codes, but they still said all obligations belong to the United States. Because what they did was say that the money will be, the Federal Reserve Notes would be backed by the faith and credit of the people. So they're basically anticipating your labor and backing the Federal Reserve Notes off of your labor.
That's heavy and deep all at the same time because that's a lot to think about. No, because for anybody who studied money, and you got all these people online who tell you how to earn your leisure. Shout out to them. That's a dope podcast.
Right.
Where you got people who tell you how we make money and crypto's the new money and all that. It seems like it's a transference of who do you owe rather than what do you own in this country.
Right.
I mean, let's look at it this way. Have you ever seen the documentary The Money Masters?
No.
It's like a 4-hour documentary about exactly everything that you're talking about.
Right.
And when you have this understanding of debt, the way the country's going now seems to be a reoccurrence of what America fought against Britain for, which was financial freedom.
Right.
How does a person gain financial freedom in your eyes and from what you studied so far?
So the way to actually gain it is I literally was just talking about this. We are born into this game, right? This is a game. We're born into it not knowing the rules of the game. So we received all of our information from third parties telling us how to play the game because we don't bother to go learn the laws ourselves, right? So we rely on other people, especially lawyers, right? So you're relying on a lawyer who went to the same bar association as the judge and the prosecutor. So it's like they're brethren. So how are they really going to help you? In fact, it's in their laws that lawyers' first loyalty is with the courts, not with their clients. Go look that up. So I don't know what law it is. It's under their law book, their law codes, but it literally says the lawyer's first loyalty is to the courts. So you're relying on that lawyer whose loyalty is with them, not you. Because you notice that they don't sign an oath saying that they're going to protect you to the best of their abilities or nothing like that, right? They're not going to put you first. You didn't get a sworn oath for that or nothing, right? So they basically play the game for you because they represent you. And the word represent, were you presented in the first place? How are they representing you? You know what I'm saying? So it's all, first of all, it's all legalese. What you think is English is not. What you think you know the words to, you don't. When you tell a judge that you understand while you standing in that court, you telling him that you stand under his rules. Not that you comprehend, that you stand under the rules. That's that legalese and that trick knowledge, that lip professing, that, you know, my 5% is.
Yeah, no doubt. Shout out to the guys in Earth.
Right. Peace.
But the thing about it is, if you're in the system, how do you come out of it knowledgeably, legally, and don't put yourself in position to be another Instagram meme of some of the funniest stuff I've seen ever?
Right.
When people think they can outsmart the cops, and the cops
Right.
are executing the
Right.
law that's in front of them.
Well, they're executing the statutes because there's a difference between statute codes and laws. But and I tell this to people because they be like, you telling people they might get killed. That's another thing that I'll be going through on my TikTok. So basically, the reason confrontations normally, of course, there's negative. I tell it, it's negative and positive energy in everything. They have to coexist, right? So if you approach a situation with negative energy, the person on the other end is going to automatically feel that negative energy and they're going to react negatively. So if the officer is negative and he an asshole when you pull you over, you could be in your best spirits. When he pull you down and you see he got an attitude, you're going to automatically get fear and an attitude. Both anger and fear are going to come, right? And it's vice versa. So if he's happy and you mad as hell that he pulled you over, when he pull up, when he get to the window and you got all this attitude and this negative energy, he's going to feed off of that negative energy. So that's why I'll be like, well, the problem is we trying to beat the situation right there in that moment. Why would you be challenging someone who has a gun, a badge, and the government behind them? You know what I'm saying? So that's where one of the issues lie. So I always say, take the ticket, go home, and then you fight the ticket in the courts because the judge knows the laws. Officers don't know laws. Remember, laws and statutes are two different things. Officers know statutes and they know codes and they know what they were directed to do, right? So they're doing their job. Judges know the laws. So take the damn ticket and then fight the ticket where it's supposed to be fought. Because you really don't even, court starts on paper. So you really don't even have to go into the actual court building because that's a building. Because we use words synonymously, we confuse ourselves. Court is not the building. When you're not going to court, court had already started the moment you received the ticket or the moment you received any document through the mail. The paper is the court. That's the courthouse and the courtroom. So make sure you start distinguishing that as well. But so your way to getting out of the system is really, you have to learn the laws, right? And then you have to give notice to everybody, standing your ground of who you are, because there's a presumption that you're automatically a dead entity. You're not a living being unless you give notice, which is crazy because they know you're alive, right? They know you were born because they have the birth certificate. But then they converted your being born into the birth certificate, which then became a corporation, all caps. So anytime you see all caps names, you know it's the corporation to whom they're speaking, and not you, the actual physical man or woman. So then you have to give notice of who you are, and then stand your ground. You still got to stand your ground. That don't mean be obnoxious and be ignorant. You know what I'm saying? That's what people, they be like, I'm sovereign. So now they coin the term sovereign citizen, which is an oxymoron. You can't be sovereign and a citizen. Sovereign means free, and citizen means subject to. So they do that again with that trick knowledge. You know what I'm saying? But no. So you could be sovereign, but still be courteous, stand in honor, because being sovereign is also about being honorable. And one of the ways to be honorable is to respect and love thy neighbor, like they say in the Bible. The Bible is a book of laws. I tell people that all the time. People done took it as literal when it's really in allegory of laws for you to follow. So that's the common laws or God's laws. Those exist, right? But then you got the statutes and the codes that kind of contradict real laws because it's about money. Everything is commercial. So if you kidnap, it's a commercial crime. If you steal, it's a commercial crime. All of that is commercial.
I heard a man on the internet say, the law is for poor people because when you're rich, you can dictate the law. Do you find that's true?
Well, yeah, it's definite. Like the bank is controlling the corporation right now because they have all the money. So the top elitists are controlling what's going on. Actually, the president before FDR, who was it? I don't remember his name, but he didn't want to go into the Federal Reserve notes because he foresaw that would happen. He said that then the bankers are going to, the one who controls those Federal Reserve notes is going to control the country. So he knew it was going to be over.
It's amazing that you say that because in the past, for anybody who knows anything about poor Caucasian people in this country, especially in the South and the West, they hated the bankers. Those were the people they always wanted to go kill with their rifles. They always talked about the bankers.
Right.
Not about every negative word you hear about people of color.
Right.
They always said the bankers because they were going to take their land.
Right.
You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? But not to go too far from the subject, I see a lot of channels pop up about police that don't know the law and they just enforce what they know or they think they know.
Right.
I've seen Caucasian people pray to Donald Trump by getting pulled over and they get their windows smashed. Please, Trump, help me. Save me from this.
Are you serious?
Yep. I've seen people pray to God while getting their windows busted open.
Right.
Because they're talking to the cops about their rights.
Right.
But I don't think people understand their rights.
Right.
What is a right someone has? And how do they defend their right even in a situation like that into your expertise or knowledge?
So I can't really talk from that perspective because I don't get pulled over. So, and the reason I don't get pulled over is because I gave my notices. So, and in case you're like, what she mean? I mean, like, literally, an officer will be behind me running my plates where I know that they're running my plates. And then they just pull on over. In fact, my sister was driving my car, and it was late at night, and she said an officer was, and she works in Westfield. And she was like, an officer was behind her on 22. She nervous. She not like me. So, she not built like me. And she said he went around, he was behind her running the plates, facts. He went around her and waved. I said, you lying. I know what I what I respectfully demanded was to be on the do not detain list. There's a list called the do not detain list. So I respectfully demanded to be put on it. Apparently I'm on it. Like, I didn't get a notice saying you on it, but I know when they go behind my car, like literally I was in Maplewood, somebody called on me because I do real estate. I'm sitting and waiting for the people to come open the door for me to see the property, but I was there for 15 minutes. So I'm just on my phone, all of a sudden, officer pulls up behind me, so I know somebody didn't call. Or maybe I look suspicious. Whatever. So he's behind me. Now I know for sure. I'm in my head, I'm like, alright, I'm gonna know for sure now, right? I go in he behind me. As soon as he come, the people come to open the door. So we go in, they laughing like, yo, he running your place. I'm like, I know. We go in, come out, he gone. My truck's still sitting there, no tickets, no nothing. No registration, no insurance. So, The way to handle it is not to battle an officer who's doing their job. You know what I'm saying? Because even before then, I look. This is what propelled me to go ahead and just do it, because I had received 4 tickets, but I wasn't arguing with them. I took the tickets. Okay, you know what I'm saying? But in my head, I'm like, they don't know I know these laws. All of these about to be gone, and they were gone. Like I said, so after I handled the tickets with notice, then I handled to get on the do not detain list. So the way to go about it is not to be confrontational. Don't be negative, because negative energy only feeds negativity. You know what I'm saying? So stay positive. Take it. I know you aggravated, because it is aggravating as hell. And then give notice. You got to stand your ground and let the corporation know where you stand in this realm of the game or the system.
This is Heritage Hip Hop right now. This is what Naqueen Zaire, talking about defeating debt and understanding your place in corporate America, quote unquote. That's confusing and enlightening at the same time, because we talked about sovereignty earlier, and you're talking about putting notices out, which means taking your place, basically taking your power, right? I want to ask you this. For the people I know who've been sovereign, they gave up their social security number, they're giving up their citizenship, to the point where even when they're at their houses, they have to have their identity put on their doors, or put notices so people know,
Right.
or the government knows where they are at all times.
Right.
I heard a person say when 9/11 happened, they had a knock on the door from the FBI, CIA, because they needed to know where they stood in relation to what happened as free citizens, not as a threat, but like, this happened here, and because you have this, we have to acknowledge you some type of different way than
Wow.
somebody that doesn't have that, and you're just, happy-go-lucky running around.
All right.
The notice is sovereignty and knowing your power. What is the difference between what you do and what you know, and what a sovereign does and what they know?
So we're all born sovereign, right? So okay. So your first thing was about the birth certificate. Me personally, I still have mine, and this is my so everyone has their own journey to travel, right? Their own road to get to their destination. My road is, I'm keeping my birth certificate and a social security number, because the government has benefited off of those 2 things. They've been trading it on the market and receiving billions and billions of dollars, right? So I need to reap with my portion. So that's how I look at it. So I'm not rescinding anything. However, I can take control of it. So it's still about giving notices. No, my birth certificate is not authenticated, because that just means getting it. So you know what an authenticated process is? It's getting your birth certificate, taking it to a notary, having a notary sign it, then you take it down to the courts, to the clerk or whatever, and then they sign over the note. It's already authentic. Like, I got it from Vital Statistics with a seal and a signature. So to me, it's already authentic, right? It's the real birth certificate. Well, you know what I'm saying. Not the long live birth. The short form is the real birth certificate. So if you take that and you take it to court and you leave it at the courthouse and say, see you later, they got to throw it out. It's proof already of what exists. It's proof that one is a dead entity and you are a living being. I am the holder of that birth certificate. And as a holder, I intend to be the beneficiary and co-trustee. But then you have to get the notice of being the co-trustee. So you have to let the government know that you're of the age of majority, because right now you're still considered a minor. You're still considered an infant, right? Until you give notice that you are of the age of majority and that you can handle your own business. So that's the process I'm in. I just was doing people individually, but now I need to go on to the higher, even though I started at the governor and the judges. But I need to go a little higher now to like the Department of Treasury and all of them, to let them know that I could be co-trustee and handle my own business. But we still going to be doing it off of the trust of Naqueen Zaire, you know what I'm saying, with the Social Security number. We're going to still be using that trust.
Okay. That's something I tell people on Heritage Hip Hop all the time, that I do not accept the term minority.
Right.
And the reason why is because people think, well, you are a person of color, but that's not what minority actually means.
Right.
Minority, and you can tell me if I'm correct. Minority basically means child or dependent upon
Absolutely.
someone else.
Absolutely.
Is that, well, why don't you break it down from what you know so you can tell me if I'm thinking right and you can tell the people watching if I'm correct?
Definitely. So, so remember I just said the custodian, I mean, you have a social security number. So your social security has a custodian, and the custodian is the Federal Reserve. And if you do not take take control of it from the custodian, then you are still considered a minor. Just think about it. Melanated people, we've been here for hundreds of thousands of years. It's no way that white folks outnumber black people. I don't care where you're from. Like we've been original to every portion of the land. The only ones they were able to kill off, unfortunately, were the misnomer of Native Americans, you know what I'm saying, who were whatever. I don't want to go into that. But so the original people, we've been here for hundreds and thousands of years. We're still here. No matter what they do, we never die off, right? We always come back. We're always resilient. But you want to think that you have the minor number? This definitely has nothing to do with a number. That's what they fed you because they knew you wasn't going to go read the laws. You know what I'm saying? Like, ignorance is bliss. If you don't take the time to go learn, anybody could tell you anything. Even me. That's why when I cite something, I tell you to go look for it yourself. When I read if you follow me on TikTok, when I read the laws, I'm giving you the laws to tell you to go look at it yourself and see what you get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because comprehension is key too, so it depends on how you comprehend it. But no one's going to tell me how to receive the information. I'm going to receive it the way I receive it, and then I'm going to give notice based on that reception.
That's very deep because I watch a lot of information. Most people can tell. And the things I watch are mostly about nationality,
Right.
legacy, inheritance, identity.
Right.
There's a gentleman I watch named Dane Calloway. You familiar?
Mm-hmm.
So Dane Calloway is somebody I've been waiting to want to have a conversation with for years. Him and Reza Islam. Actually met him. Shout out to Reza Islam.
Okay.
And a lot of what they talk about is identity and taking control of your life.
Right.
Also taking control of your identity and nationality.
Right.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke about this before he died. And these are the things that got him basically killed more than I Have a Dream speech.
Of course.
Is that he talked about the banks
Right.
and land ownership. And Dan Calloway talks about laws being changed and slavery not being what we think it is. It's more corporation and business talk. How do people come out of the corporation? What's the first thing you think they should learn, though, to actually get an idea of what you're speaking of so then they could get into a profound conversation with you and learn more?
I always tell, when they ask me where should they start, to me I think you should start with the 15 USC. So it's Title 15, Chapter 41, because it's the easiest to comprehend, and well, for me. So I think, and plus it's about dealing with debt collectors. And remember, I told you everyone is a debt collector. Like the judge, when you go into the court, he's a debt collector right there because he's trying to make money for the trust. The attorney who brought you there is a debt collector. Then you know your regular debt collectors. And then you know your regular credit cards and banks who collecting the debt. You notice that on your forms it always say this is an attempt to collect the debt. Everyone are debt collectors. Everyone. The officer, when he pull you over to give you a ticket, he's collecting the debt. He's giving you that ticket. That ticket is an offer for you to pay it. So it's a debt. It becomes a debt. So you have to do court the moment you receive any notifications.
So everybody is in this web, and we're all just getting sucked dry by a system. Let's take it up. Let's take it to another level because we talked about credit reports, right?
Mm-hmm.
What should be on a credit report, if anything, and how do we clean and clear our credit reports?
So, under 15 USC, look, I keep dropping these codes. Under 15 USC 1681B, it's called Permissible Purposes, right? And it tells you not what they could put on it. It tells you how they can furnish reportings. So the first one is through a court order, and then the second one is your permission. So whatever else comes after that don't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Like this is so Congress did these laws. These laws are all written by Congress, right? And they'll literally tell you why they came up with. Let's just look at, since we bring it up, 1681. Let's look it up real quick. I just want to read the purpose to you.
Make sure you visit Naqueen Zaire on TikTok. Also follow Heritage Hip Hop on all social media for this type of information, great interviews, and more.
So I'm going to read to you the reason they came up with these laws. So I got to put my glasses on. Because they literally tell you why they came up with certain laws. Except it's not, oh, there you go. So I'm going to just read what it literally says. Accuracy and fairness of credit reporting. Congress makes the following findings, which means they looked it up, right? The banking system is dependent upon fair and accurate credit reporting. Inaccurate credit reports directly impair the efficiency of the banking system, and unfair credit reporting methods undermine the public confidence, which is essential to the continued functioning of the banking system. And then they went to call them an elaborate mechanism has been developed for investigating and evaluating the credit worthiness, credit standing, credit capacity, character, and general reputation of consumers. So this elaborate mechanism was created to give you to furnish what your reputation is. And they was like, nah, you know what I'm saying? So then they started creating these laws. And then they created the purpose of the permissible purpose. So did you give them permission to put a late payment on your credit report? No. But they put it on there anyway, right? But if you just let it slide, then it's going to stay there. Same thing with anything. If they send you a bill and you thinking, this bill not mine, but you don't tell them, then it's going to stay there. Like everything is about giving notice. Literally. Everything.
Okay. So should people be paying this stuff on their credit reports or not?
Well, I'm not an attorney, and let me give a disclaimer. This is not legal advice. I'm just entertainment purposes, blah, 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 and it's educational purposes, right? But you have to do what speaks to your heart. What do you feel you should be doing? I mean, not should be doing, because if you don't know where to look, but what do you think that you should be challenging something that shouldn't be? You know what I'm saying? What does your heart, because you know how we always think that, I don't know, I know when I was little, I used to just think, it didn't make no sense to me that someone could pay for their house for 30 years and then the government could just take it from them. To me, I was just like, that makes no sense. So that means like you never own your house. You know what I'm saying? And I was little thinking that. So imagine if your mind is telling you something, go with it. If your heart is telling you something, go with it, because your gut knows.
That's the spirit. We call it the spirit.
Facts.
That the spirit's telling you something is not
Absolutely.
right. And a lot of people don't listen to their spirit. They listen to the people around them who know only a fraction of what's really going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? See, this is all interesting information because a lot of us are living a lie. And when people look at the movie The Matrix, they're finally realizing that we are in a matrix.
Right.
That the Bible even tells you that you live in a matrix and it's up to you to figure it out.
Right.
You know, if the kingdom of heaven is within, how do you go to somebody to tell you what heaven is?
Exactly.
If the first, I'll say the first bar in hip hop is "Let there be light," but then God tells us we are the light of the world. Right. So then there's something that goes together with that frame of thinking in the wording. Mm-hmm. And English, from what I learned, is not a language; it's a code. It's a coding system that was used to make the illiterate understood by the masses, because everybody had their own language and identity. Mm-hmm. So then if the law, the statutes, and the codes are other languages, we are being tricked on so many levels that we are far behind the 8 ball and responsible to it, because they say ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Facts.
So between federal laws and state laws, how does this help a person come out of their matrix?
Well, the federal laws, which override state, but state enforces more heavily, right? So, federal is like your introverted big sister, and then your aggravated little ass brother who always there nicking and nagging. That's the state. So, but the federal laws, which are then okay. So because we have the laws, even though the Constitution was written during our bondage, right? It
Wow.
didn't negate, right? Because that's what it didn't negate your rights because you were born with the rights. So you still can use the Constitution because the Constitution didn't decipher from whom. It was about the people, right? So the people included everyone. But people who were enslaved, of course, didn't know any of these laws. So, meanwhile, states were passing their statutes and codes. But the Constitution still existed, as it still does. So that's the top, right? Then you have the Supreme Court, who makes sure the Constitution is followed. But then you have the federal courts, who make sure the Supreme and Constitution, and then the state. But the one who does the most, of course, is Supreme Court. Because Supreme Court only goes by the Constitution. They don't care about no statutes and no codes. Where federal will allow some statutes and codes to slide on through. So that's the difference between them. But your federal laws are still, Congress still created laws to protect you. So for every issue that you're going to have in a state, there's a federal remedy. You just got to find it. They're not going to give it to you. Like, I had somebody call me yesterday, and he was like, when I went to court, why the judge didn't say with prejudice? And I'm like, the judge don't work for you. The judge worked for the corporation.
Right.
So he's not going to say with I said, why would he say with prejudice unless the attorney was actually deliberately being disrespectful and dishonorable to the court? You know what I'm saying? So he don't work for you. You have to find out your remedy, and then you have to apply it. So remember what Karev just quoted in the Bible, like it's on you. No one is supposed to do it for you.
Finding all this information out had to be a life changer for you, and then finding out that it works is also something that's big too.
Right.
We have a lot of people who come under scrutiny from it. Sovereigns. We have people who call themselves Moors.
Right.
The people who believe that they're Nijis or indigenous to America.
Right. That's all of us.
But some people don't believe it.
Right.
Whether you think you're African or not is really not even the point.
Right.
You're actually telling people how to own their identity.
Exactly.
And that's the key to why I think so many people are in church and mosques and organized religions, because they don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for an answer more than a reason.
Right.
So I ask you this question. What is your goal in knowing this information, and where do you want to take it?
So, goal-wise, well, I want to help others to learn to decipher, to at least move to where the level I'm on. Like, I don't know most of anything, right? The little that I know, I'm like, okay, I got to help people at least to this level. But the goal, of course, is to figure out how to really move using your credits without the stress, without the, it becomes unhealthy. People get divorced. You know what I'm saying? Like, people lose their homes. That's crazy. Like, why would you be losing your home if it's already prepaid? So the goal is to teach people how to stand their ground, how to play the game correctly and honorably, and get their remedy, get what it is that you're seeking to receive. Just like as I'm continuing that journey to seek my remedy. So my remedy is to own my stuff without trespass. You know what I'm saying?
Break that down.
Like, without
the trespass.
Yeah, without any government officials telling me. First of all, you're not gonna tell me what to do with my property. That already exists. Like, I handle them with notices. But the fact, I don't want you to even think that you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like with my automobile, no one's pulling. Like, I don't have to worry about the officer coming and then me having to prove who I am. Nope. When you run them plates, you're gonna keep it moving. That no trespass against me. I get to travel freely. So I want that the same with my property. I want that the same with everything. You know what I'm saying? Because right now you still have to fight the debt collectors. Like, you can't give them. So I do want to say this. People be like, so I'm gonna give this to government officials. Normally when they receive one notice, they honor it, because again, judges know the laws. You know what I'm saying? Government officials that's at the higher level, not the municipal level, they don't know. So you'll probably be challenging them. But people at the higher level, they know the law. So all you have to do is send them one notice. Banks are crooks. So you have to literally give them 1 letter, 2 letter, 3 letter, 4, and then take their asses to court. They just not gonna comply, knowing they dead ass wrong, but they're not gonna comply. They're gonna force you to take them all away. And I don't want to be at that point. I want to be able to just don't even come my way. You know what I'm saying? I don't even want to use my credit unless I'm doing it for business credit. Because personally, everything is already prepaid. So why would I be using my social for it? So
That's an interesting point, because in the movement I've been seeing in the new financial knowledge that our people are obtaining, whether it's right or wrong, is up to the deliverer and the receiver. A lot of people are telling folks nowadays, you should have an LLC by the time you're 16, incorporate yourself, or put yourself in position to have like a LLC type entity on your child, on your name, by a certain age, to protect yourself from a lot of the credit debts and people who are basically impacting your financial future through everything that you do, since everything affects your life and your life is supposed to be protected through an entity. Right? Do you agree with that? And why would you?
So through the LLC, you're separating from the social, because you get the EIN, right? And then tax wise, you can file differently. So there's more. I don't know, but there's two ways to file, right? The cash way, which is income minus debt. Then you have the accrual way, which is income plus debt. But that can only be done on the LLC. So instead of subtracting what you paid, you're adding what you paid, right? And then if you're using your bank account, I'm not a CPA. Let me get that disclaimer. So I'm not an accountant. Don't come to me for accounting advice. I'm just telling you what I personally experienced. So because my business is, I do everything through the business, then I'm giving income to Wells Fargo. I probably shouldn't have said my bank name. But anyway, I give income to my bank, and then I claim the bank, because I gave you funds that you used to do securities and trading on, right? So I'm gonna write all of that off.
Okay. This is what I tell people in the industry, music wise. I tell all artists, if you're going to be in the music industry, you need to LLC yourself.
Right.
Because you're creating a new persona for yourself. So that has to be protected. So whether you're buying clothes or you're traveling, I don't care if you buy weed or alcohol, that's all stuff that you use towards your business, and you should use this to protect your family, yourself, and your brand.
Right.
For people who are not in that industry, how do they protect themselves by living the quote unquote normal life but having an LLC in their name?
You still need to have the LLC in your name, because then what you'll do, I'm not really an accountant. I'm just going by what my accountant was telling me. So you even through your employment, then you would become like an independent contractor, because really that's what you are anyway.
Right. That's why you get a tax form.
Right. So that's why you need to have an LLC. So my children have LLCs.
Salute. All right. So here's another thing. There are people who are LLCs who don't turn profit. What do you say to them?
I don't know.
Okay, so that's why
because even if they don't turn profit, you mean like they don't receive any income? Or
like
profit?
they'll they're not making money to make ends meet, but they're living through their LLC and they use it
So
for.
you still claim. So now you still claim the in and the out, because so say if you made 40,000 and you spent 40,000, so now your thing is 80,000. So that's what you're doing it based off of. So that means the government is gonna owe you some money because you're claiming the bank.
Okay.
Because you
Okay.
gave the bank a loan.
Right.
Time to start claiming your loan. No one claims their loan. They give the bank their money all the time. You're giving them a loan and receiving nothing for it.
Right, because if for as we seen for every dollar you give them, they make 10.
Absolutely.
That's how we have ATMs giving people money that comes out of nowhere.
Right.
And understanding even in understanding that, what is cryptocurrency then to what you understand it to be? Because now under Joe Biden's new America, when you do your taxes, there's a cryptocurrency aspect to it now, where they're asking what you owe and what you own in your crypto.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
No.
So when I did my taxes this year, one of the person who did my taxes actually called me on the phone. I was like, wait a minute, I forgot to ask you an important question. Do you have any cryptocurrency? What crypto do you have and how much? Because the government is decentralizing
Right.
cryptocurrency now in this country. So people be like, yeah, I'm buying NFTs and I made $70 million in crypto, right? They're now claiming that as, part of your income
Wow.
now. So everybody out there with Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that, if you haven't done your taxes yet, somebody asked you about your money, the government will be asking you about your money very soon.
Wow.
All right? So this is all good information that you've given. And on Heritage Hip Hop, if anybody has been watching, which I know you have, we've put your flyer up for April 10th on some of our videos. Why don't you tell us about April 10th and what's going on?
So basically on April 10th, I'm going to be doing a live, basically step by step on how to find the laws, use the laws, and what letters you should write to get rid of any debt. Again, doesn't matter from whom that debt came. And also, we're going to go into some techniques about getting property without using your credit. So basically, but it's going to be mad detailed. Everything is debt, so everybody falls up under there. So that's why I'll be like, can't go through each individual, but debt period, whatever debt is.
So you're giving everybody a debt survival kit.
Right. A credit survival kit, because you don't want to be in debt, because debt is equal to death. When
Yes,
you look at the
because
word
you're under somebody.
more is death. So, yeah.
Ain't that something?
Right.
So while we close this up, I usually play a game on Heritage Hip Hop called the Rapid Fire
Oh,
Questions.
shit.
Now, being that this is not a music thing, this is something that I would have to change for you, but I'm going to keep it in context to what we're talking about. Okay? Because I found in preparing for you, which I always do, I found some words that I think people should know, and I want to get your knowledge of the words of what you think people should know of the terms that we use.
Okay.
You ready?
Hopefully I know what
Well,
I
we'll
have to
see.
work for.
We'll see, no doubt. What is the difference between an income and a wage?
I don't know, because I don't get income. Income is incoming. I don't know what the hell a wage is.
So on a paycheck, some paychecks say income and some say wages. And they can't be the same thing.
Right.
So
I'm gonna look those up, but I've been self-employed since 2001, so.
so you don't have a wage.
No
See,
more.
everybody, that's why I asked the question, because if you don't know of the people that you're interviewing, you're going to ask some BS questions. So for all y'all who do have a job, from you getting a check from a place, you're getting a wage. That's not an income. So April 10th, make sure you talk to her, because she'll have that answer. She could school you on how much money you're really not getting. All right? Question number 2. There are many types of debt. What do you think is the most crucial debt people pay that they have the opportunity to stop paying?
The mortgage.
Which is housing.
Right.
Why?
Again, because mortgage equals death. So they deliberately tack on mad interest. Do you know that basically about 80% of what you pay goes towards the interest. You're not paying well, you are paying very little towards the principal so that it can last for the 30 years. And if you look at it, you'll see that you probably paid 2 to 3 times more than what the price of the property is. And it was already prepaid the moment you signed the promissory note. Because they took that promissory note and they deposited it and received the funds, credits, received the credits for that amount, and then told you that you owe them. What did they bring to the table?
That was very interesting because I personally went through something like that, and we'll talk about that later. Because that's not for y'all to know in heritage hip hop. The next question. What is property? How do you own your property?
So technically, property is owned by the government. Remember when I said all obligations belong? So they did the faith and credit, full faith and credit based on the people and their property. Mm-hmm. So that included your automobile, your house, and your person, which is the main one that they collect from. That's why I said they all debt collectors. They mainly collect from the person, right?
Not
they
you.
Want you to come into court. They want you to go to jail. They're collecting from the person. But they will do it through, so when you get like your taxes, because when you close on a property, the notary actually has, which is from the title company, they actually have you sign all these forms, and one of the forms is the deed, and then they go record the deed as opposed to bringing it to you. Lawfully, they supposed to give you the deed. But because the system has been working the way it's been turning all of these years, they don't really know. They think it's supposed to go down to the city. So when it goes down to the city, now you gave the city rights to your property.
Wow, that's deep. I was reading a financial dictionary and a law dictionary and a 1600 dictionary, and it said the definition for a human is the definition of the word monster.
Right.
And it says that a monster and a human are exempt from owning property. That property is owned by a financial institution.
Right.
So for everybody who thinks that she doesn't know what she's talking about, I can tell you I studied some of this myself.
Right.
So that's 100% fact. Who inspires you to read and find these things out, or who do you build with to help keep your mind sharp on these things?
So the information, we're spiritual people. The information fell on my lap, right? And I was like, why am I getting these? YouTube just started bringing me law videos, and I'm like, why am I getting these videos? So the first one that I received is a white dude named TJ. He's at urlaw.org. And so I started following him first, and then that led me to Yusuf L from High Frequency Radio. I started watching him, and then I started building more with him, and which is how I met my accountant. I met him through Yusuf L, and he was from Brooklyn. Now he just moved to Atlanta though, but he's a beast in for them taxes. That's his thing. Taxes is his thing. I'm like, yeah, you go do that. He be talking over my head. It's like another language. For real. Like, he be speaking it, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So I follow him. His name is Serge. So Serge, Yusuf, TJ, it's another dude named Christopher Hauser. I was just introduced to him, but the way his methods are pretty good. He's a white guy with long hair, but he did a video because like people talking about his methods don't work or whatever, so he was responding, and then he was like, I'm black, because the dude was like, don't listen to, we use race a lot, we stay separate all the time, and so he was offended. He was like, I am black because everybody came from black people. That shit was hilarious, but yeah. It was irrelevant, but it was hilarious at the same time because he started reading some information, and then he was like, I am black. And I just died like, oh, shit. Okay, yeah. So I follow him too, though, because he's very intelligent.
The most important thing I think we fail in knowing about ourselves is our power. What are the 3 most important things that you learned of yourself when you start owning your own power in your knowledge and your understanding?
What are the 3 things? What you mean, like internally
what did you learn?
Or lawfully?
Well, period. Take it the way you go. How about both?
I mean, because I've been who I am from birth. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always been so growing up in 5% nation too, they would always be like, you always going against the grain. You always go, because I would. Like, if you couldn't show and prove, I wouldn't believe you. And that was like my natural element. So I've always been that part. I guess, I don't know. I've always stood my ground. That didn't change. The laws just enhanced it. Because then now I have more proof. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to just running the mouth like a lot of people do. Like, they run it. Like, people come on my page and they telling me I'm wrong, but they can't show me no proof. Literally, I'll be like, prove it. Like, it's that simple. Okay, I'll take your word for it, but I need you to prove it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm dropping proof, receipts. I need you to bring some receipts. So I've always been that person. So I don't know what did I learn about myself.
So are you going to write any books or share your information, audio class, anything for somebody to follow you and learn from?
Yeah, so I have 2 ebooks already, Defeating Debt Collectors and How to Travel Without Getting Stopped by the Police. So it's on, I guess you could follow me on TikTok or Instagram. So at Instagram, I'm at Naqueen Unique. And on TikTok, I'm at Naqueen Zaire. And then the link is in my profile. Because it's not like a regular website. It's like with Koji, you know, for the social media type of websites. So to make it easy for you to download from the social media. So go to my social media, follow me. And in my profile, I have... I'm also going to do defeatingdebtcollectors.com, but I didn't do it yet. It's going to be an app. But I haven't started yet. But yeah, that's coming soon.
So usually the last question I ask for Heritage Hip Hop is, what is the legacy you left behind and made the world better because you did such and such? What would you like your resounding legacy to be or be remembered for when people go back and study your travels, your knowledge, and read your books and your have experience your digital footprint? Right. What do you want to leave the world to make the world better from everything that you've done?
That I'm a spiritual being and that I truly care and love my people, regardless of where they're from, and that I did everything that I could to help elevate to a higher vibration.
So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the highest level of life that you can attain to is love. And when you love yourself, you will protect yourself. And if you're protective, you will take care of the people that you care for and the people you're around because you don't want any evils to overcome them. Remember, the Bible says that we fight against not flesh and blood, but spirits and principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places. And it seems the highest place is in the words, not only within yourself. School is a master, but so is evil if you let it take you over. So make sure you master yourself and won't be touched by the evil that there is. This is Karev at Heritage Hip Hop with Naqueen Zaire. Make sure you follow her on all social media and buy them books. Make sure you pay attention to the flyer in the video, call her, and make an appointment. April 10th is the day that you get to shine and get the knowledge that you're looking for. And with that being said, we say peace, and we out. Thank you for watching our presentation. We ask that you subscribe to our YouTube family and hit the notification bell for updates. Please like, comment, and share this video.